All right, I think we're ready. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel and to my home. This is it, where it happens. We recently moved and there are lots of projects on the to-do list. Today, in this video, we are gonna be taking down this old pantry door and we're gonna be installing this one. Here it is, brand new in the box. It is a bifolding door. It didn't break the bank, and I hope it's got the quality that my family and I want, specifically my wife. She was very insistent that the pantry door as is needs to go, and so we're really looking forward to this new pantry door, and I'm going to show you how to get it installed from start to finish. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. And a huge shout out to Lowe's for making this video possible. This video was made in partnership with Lowe's. They sent me this product in exchange for an honest review and some creative content, and that is what I'm doing. All the videos that I publish on my channel have been vetted for quality without breaking the bank, real things that my family and I would buy. And as I do in all of my videos, I'll put product links in the description below should you want to pick one up for yourself. All right, so let's get started here. We're gonna get it out of the box so you can see what to expect when it delivers or arrives to you. And as expected, it's a bifolding door. It's sealed really well. Lots of styrofoam, lots of plastic. Not a big fan of plastic wrap. It's a huge waste on the environment, but it does secure things nicely. Anyway, this is it. Looks like it's in pretty good condition, and I think it looks really sharp. The manufacturer does say that you can paint it, and you will want to paint it at this point. We are not gonna paint it because I think it looks really cool, just straight up plain white, and it's gonna contrast really well with our trim that goes around the door, which is a nice stained oak, which you'll see here in a second. But I'm looking for any blemishes, any dings, anything that will stand out in terms of, hey, I need to send this thing back. Here's a top look, and it does come with, of course, the hardware, the knob, the bottom mount, the track itself. And obviously you want to measure your door width and length. I ended up ordering the 28 by 80 inch. That was the dimensions of my opening. And of course I need to prep my door space and my jamb, remove the old door, and we do have these nasty hinges in the latch impressions you'll see here in a minute. I do need to pop this off, and I'm not sure what your situation looks like, but mine was original to the house and on there very tightly. This is how I was able to wedge it off, making sure I pry it from the staple or the nail points and not anywhere where it's super bendy. It needs to go, the pry bar needs to go right behind the nails to get the most leverage without snapping your trim piece, because we will be using this trim piece a little later. So we do want to salvage all of it. There's two sides and the top piece. So let's remove the top piece. Again, it all needs to be intact. All right, with those pieces down, we're just gonna kind of set those aside and deal with those later. And I'm gonna sand this jamb a little bit, but because we're in a pantry, I don't wanna kick up a bunch of dust near our food, so just got a little wet, damp washcloth, kind of wet the surface a little bit, and that helps to prevent aerosoling the wood and whatever left, the glue and anything that's kind of left over. Next, we've got some wood putty, and you can certainly paint this, but I'm gonna be staining. Wood putty's gonna be a little sloppy here. Might need a couple layers on the actual hinge cutouts. They're a little deeper than I want them to be, not crazy, but basically got to put this stuff on, let it dry, and then sand it down. And it should be a nice even surface with the existing jamb. And any other holes or anything else that I see, I'll plug this with some wood patch. Now don't worry if you can't get it perfect. We are going to conceal most of the hinge cutouts and the latch cutout with the trim that we just took off, but I do want to make it a solid mounting point. So we'll let that dry, and that dry, and then sand it down. And to prevent all this dust from kicking up into the pantry, I have a damp cloth. That doesn't solve the problem 100%, but it does reduce the spores that are released into the air. And just a corner piece sandpaper. You can use your orbital sander, but it kind of chips away. So either just regular sandpaper or the orbital sander for that 90-degree turn. We want that to look semi-sharp. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Next, we'll be trying to spot cover the trim, the whiter part of the trim that we had removed. You can see we've got two samples up here.
and I'm gonna put some on the actual wood patch to see what that looks like before I commit. I end up liking this linseed oil, and so we're gonna be applying that to all of that. Has the kind of the richest, darkest tones when it is applied and when it dries, two important distinguishing observations there when it goes on wet and versus when it dries. So I'm just gonna put that on, and that'll help. You can go nuts and try to, go to the store and get a perfect oak stain match, but to me that's pretty close. And you can see we're going to be applying that trim piece that we took off earlier. Anyway, next step is to measure the midpoint of your jamb. In my case, it's like 2.25 inches, and I'm marking that on the hinge side. Next, we'll take the track that comes with it. You can see the orientation here. Align it with that center point, 2.25 inches. And then there are 3 holes that you will be, I recommend doing a pilot hole on the first side, and then you can just drill directly, or you can do three pilot holes and then drill. Secure it with the 3 screws that are provided. Next, we'll go to the jamb's hinge side and we'll set the mounting plate. Now this is a little tricky because I'm not mounting into wood, I'm mounting into tile, and underneath the tile happens to be cement. Not super pleased with that, but I'm marking the halfway point, 2.25 inches in the middle of the jamb, aligning that hole, and then marking it like this. I'll be doing my pilot drill, my actual pilot hole with this tile bit. And I have the smallest one possible, just enough for a screw to get down there. The screw that I'm going to use won't actually bite into the tile. I'm looking to sink it into the concrete that is below the tile. So I'll be drilling a nice clean pilot hole through the tile, and I am applying water because this baby gets hot. Spray bottle is better. I didn't have a spray bottle handy, so I just used the glass. You can see it start to smoke, and your bit will be very hot, so be careful. Keep applying water. You'll hear it sizzle, and it'll go all the way through. Just apply light pressure, let the bit do the work, and voila, you should have a nice clean hole. Look how close to the edge I got, and it's still, I didn't chip that edge or crack that edge. It didn't blow out on me, so awesome. Next, we'll align the L-shaped bracket to the jamb, the wood jamb there, and there are 2 screws provided, and they're pretty thick screws. It penetrates the jamb and then maybe a little bit of the stud on the other side, so that baby's not going anywhere. I'm not going to completely tighten that down quite yet. I want just a little bit of play so that my cement screw that it's going to be vertical through the tile will align with the hole that I just drilled. Now I've got a little Tapcon screw here, and I'm drilling my drill using the masonry drill bit that is just slightly smaller, maybe 2 clicks smaller than the diameter of the Tapcon screw. And that is enough to just get that all the way down. And then, so I'm drilling the pilot hole first with the masonry bit, and then the actual screw just sinks right down just like that. So that's a really easy job. And then I can tighten up the 2 screws going into the jamb, and that baby is not going anywhere, I promise. All right, these are gonna be the top. They're gonna depress and go into the top track, which means the bottom is gonna be right here. There's 2 of them, 2 holes I should say, and only 1 of these. And this one's gonna go into this because it'll open this way, meaning this one will be the anchor point, and the top one will slide. So I'll screw that one in, and I can adjust that obviously to how deep I want it. We'll keep it about like that. We'll bring it over to the pantry for install. So let's go ahead and put this bottom piece in first. Okay, that's in, and then the top piece, there's 2 of them. I'm going to open the door just a little bit, get my fingers in there, and there. So here we are at the bottom. You can see I got that anchored and installed there. I can move it this way a little bit, and again I can twist this up and make this a little taller if I need to. So I got that in the track right here. That one is secured. And then I loosen this just slightly. You'll see why. I'm gonna close this. And you can see we're looking good on this side. This side has a little bit of a gap. If you loosen this screw right here, it basically allows you to slide that in. And then you can adjust the bottom one down there too by lifting it up. And that will adjust laterally. So about right here, I'm gonna tighten that screw, open the door obviously, and that should be a nice gap in between, making it nice and even. Okay. How do we feel about that? I don't want to get locked in here. Come around this way. Hey, not too bad. We're a little, we need to move this way now a little bit, or the bottom needs to go this way. So it's just a matter of kind of playing around with it, but look at this, looks pretty good. Now on the upper track, we need to remove the actual spring piece and make sure that the left pin is depressed and to the right of the spring. The spring, you can just kind of slide it down. You don't need to remove it all the way to this side. And that's what's going to give it kind of its soft closed feature. And you can remove that little piece of foam or styrofoam or whatever it is. It's not necessary. Next, we're going to install the actual knob. Before you commit to the location, I recommend putting some painter's tape up, actually gluing it into place just with some wood glue. It won't secure it permanently. It comes off really easily, but it will stay strong enough where you can actually pull it and get a feel for where you want the knob, if it's going to be on the left or the right side. The instructions do call for it to be on the right side where it is right now, but I read online that some people like it to the left, so I recommend that you do play around with that first, make sure it closes and opens the way you want it to, and then you can actually pop it off. It just pops off, clean off the glue, and you can do your pilot hole here. So we'll use a little drill bit that is just larger than the diameter of the provided screw, and be careful you don't damage anything on the other side. It does drill through and it's hollow, so you'll feel it hit the back of the door, not the second door, if that makes sense. So we do need it to penetrate that, and I'm going from the front of the door to the back of the door. And then you should have a nice clean hole, and then we'll put the provided screw in through the back, and then it screws on this way. You may need a longer screw. Somebody in the reviews said, hey, it didn't come with a long enough screw. Mine did, it was fine, and so not an issue. I had a longer one just in case, but should be good to go. And we tighten that down. Do not over tighten it. You don't want to crack anything. And then, what do you think? Get rid of this little guy. They put 2 stickers on for the locations of the knob, which is nice. You can put 2 knobs on, but it doesn't come with 2 knobs, but you could easily find your own. We're almost done. We're going to come back out to the garage, and those trim pieces we removed earlier from the jamb, those actually have little nails or staples. We're going to clip all those off. There'll just be a very small amount remaining because my clippers doesn't go flush. We'll get those bits picked up with the magnetic stud finder. And basically this is going to cover, just like it did before, with the new bifolding door closed, it's going to come flush and cover most of the mismatched coloring, this discoloration there you can see. Obviously I've got a little bit of the door hinges that are sticking out from that corner, kind of wrapping around the corner, but it's not an issue. Visually you can barely notice it, something I think we can live with. If it does become annoying, we'll deal with that later and maybe get some other stain, sand it down and apply it. But we're gonna call this good. I really like this product. This is awesome, looks great. And hopefully this video has helped you out. Thanks so much. Good luck with your project.
Hey buddy, we just finished our DIY project. Yeah man, we saved some money and it looks good. You wanna dance?
He doesn't like to dance.